Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. On this slightly overcast day, I look out the window here in my house in Barrio Capitolio, Pasig, and it is slightly overcast and sad to say, weather up north is not nice because of Typhoon Mai. But hopefully it will be a short and weak typhoon, although reports indicate that they are getting flooding already in many parts. So I think it has more to do with environmental degradation than typhoon. Okay, tropical depression may po, not typhoon category. Ewan ko ba sa inyo? Okay? Sa dami-dami kasi, tawagin nyo na lang bagyo, period. Okay? Kino-correct po ako dito. Hindi raw po typhoon, tropical depression laang. Okay, whatever. But it remains that the many places up north is soggy, wet, and many are flooded. Okay. Now, it's October 12, 2022. It's a Wednesday, and today our daily starter is from the Apple founder Steve Jobs. And let's go there. People think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. And I like that word from Steve Jobs because it reminds us in this life of ours, in this time when everybody is multitasking, when so many people are doing or holding on to 3 jobs or trying to do so many rackets, what happens is we compartmentalize and we actually never do a good job. We just did the job. We did not do a good job. And no pun intended that because this is from Steve Jobs. But the point here is Steve Jobs is quite correct in this. We do so many things in a day. We try to fit in so many things. We have our personal activities. We have our professional activities. Even in the office, there are many people who do 2 or 3 things at the same time. And I personally find that frustrating to see leaders and even team members nowadays who try to do so many things or take on so many things, and in the big picture, they're not really moving forward. Para bang mahjong. Hinahalo-halo mo lang yung mga pyesa. Hindi po ako marunong magmahjong. Nakita ko lang yung mga lola ko at nanay ko. You mix the whatever you call them, the pieces, the blocks, but at the end of the day, everything remains on the table. Nothing moves forward. Nothing is built up in the workplace. So that reminder from Steve Jobs is a very appropriate reminder to all of us. Don't just focus on what you have to do. Make sure you are not distracted by so many other things or you are trying to do so many other things. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline is a topic that was flying all over the place since last night, since yesterday afternoon. The headline is "No Philippine Blacklist for Tourism over Pogos," according to the Chinese embassy, because Senate President Mig Zubiri went before media, went for interviews yesterday, and declared or announced that, or had the impression, to be fair, he had the impression that China has blacklisted the Philippines for tourism because of the continued operation of POGOs in the country. Now, this is a big issue which we will be tackling in the second part of agenda, because as many countries have experienced, China makes a big difference, a major contribution to tourism arrivals for countries all over Asia and even the world. So if China decides to blacklist the Philippines, then we are going to lose 1.5 to 2 million tourists expected to not arrive. Okay. Now, the Chinese embassy, for its part, has said that that's not exactly the case. Medyo hindi lang daw nagkaintindihan sa usapan. Failure to communicate or lost in translation. China essentially indicated that tourism is a vital part of cooperation between two countries, and it is a platform for cultural understanding. But the message has been delivered. Kumbaga, bigkas na, okay? The message has been delivered. You could lose 2 million tourists, okay? Anyway, let's go to the header of the Philippine Star. BBM won't meddle with courts on the Lima. After many calls for former Senator Laila de Lima to be placed under house arrest, BBM and Malacanang has responded by saying the matter is already in the courts and that the president will respect that arrangement because it is not something he should be interfering with. Of course, it goes without saying that they also don't want to agitate certain parties who were behind the imprisonment or detention of Laila de Lima. Okay, price cap mulled on refined sugar. Pinag-aaralan na po ng Department of Agriculture if they are going to place a price cap or limit on the price of refined sugar because they now have refined sugar nag-arrive. It has arrived, okay? Dumating na ang refined sugar that was imported by the Department of Agriculture or its agents. And now they're talking about a price cap. Meanwhile, that big photo there is the photo of the City Hall, Manila City Hall clock tower that is all lit up in blue, not because bare months na, but to observe, okay, National Mental Health Week. The Philippine Mental Health Association is observing the third year of the Light Up Blue, okay, Light Up Blue for Mental Health campaign with a color symbolizing peace, calmness, and serenity. Okay, now, telcos, meanwhile, after President Bongbong Marcos signed the SIM registration law, telcos are seeking more time on SIM registration because once the law has been signed, it now becomes mandatory for all new SIMs and even old SIMs. Pati na kayo, lahat ng Pilipinong may cellphone or using a SIM card has to have their SIM cards registered. Now, the problem is what type of identification card will be available. The requirement is government-issued ID. The problem is not everybody has a government-issued ID. So there goes the headache, and we still don't have the Philippine national ID. Okay, dokie. Now, further down in on the front page, Remulla tells United Nations Human Rights Council red tagging is part of democracy. Secretary Remulla said that as far as red tagging is concerned, the critics of government must be able to take the same amount of criticism as they dish out. The only problem is when the government or its agents red tag somebody people end up in jail being harassed by law enforcers, and worse, they get killed. That's something Secretary Remulla failed to mention. Okay, meanwhile, a photo at the bottom of the front page, a photograph of a tourist enjoying the Christmas village features at the Baguio Country Club during its opening this week. And the theme is White Christmas to Oriental Holidays. And there is a box there that features Japan reopens borders to tourists. Okay, smaller story, but a story of big interest to many people. Japan has officially opened its borders to tourists, and there are many countries with no visa requirements. So it's expected that there will be a flood of tourists to Japan. For us Filipinos, we still need to apply for a visa, and you need to have your recent vaccination cards. Okay. And last but not the least, the Commission on Election junks, okay? Junks the last DQ case versus Marcos. The Commission on Election has junked the last disqualification filed against PBBM as it affirmed the First Division's decision to deny the disqualification petition filed by Pudno nga Ilocano against him. And that's it. That's all the news we have from the front page of the Philippine Star today. However, please do read the Philippine Star, the hard copy, or go online because there is so much more news in the inside pages and the opinion page of the Philippine Star. Okay, let's now talk about our topics for today. Today, we are going to tackle tourism-related and athleticism topic because our first topic involves a young man who I believe is the youngest Filipino cyclist to complete the Philippine Loop. Nadinig ko na yung Philippine Loop na yan, but mostly from friends of mine who own big bikes. Motorcycles. The pastors in our church have done, one or two have done the Philippine Loop, I think, or several of them. But I've not heard much about the Philippine Loop in terms of bicycles. So our first guest will be the youngest cyclist to complete the Philippine Loop. And after that, we will be speaking to a former guest on the program regarding the impact of the statement of the or the apprehension that China could possibly blacklist the Philippines for tourism because of Pogo. We will address all of that. So let's start off our day with the youngest cyclist to complete the Philippine Loop. Let's find out all about this thing about cycling, touring the country, etc. Let's watch the video to introduce our first guest.
Vicson Añonuevo is the youngest Filipino cyclist to complete a Philippine Loop. It took him a total of 116 days to travel around the Philippine archipelago using only his bicycle. Aside from biking, the Irosin Sorsogon native is also into ultimate frisbee, running, mountaineering, and other outdoor sports.
Marhay na aga, Vicson. Kamusta
Maray
na?
na aga, sir. Cito.
Okay, kamusta na?
Okay naman po. So far, naka-recover na from the Philippine Loop.
Okay, first of all, Vicson, I will not pretend to know what you're talking about kasi I've never seen, read, or experienced the Philippine Loop. I only heard some stories from big bikers. But what exactly is this Philippine Loop? And why has it become a thing of interest for people on two-wheeled vehicles?
Sir, Philippine Loop is just like a event from past few past few years, I think it's already 2008 or 2009 when it started. Yun lang po yung pag-ikot ng Pilipinas, sir, na gamit yung kung nakamotor ka or pwedeng 4 wheels, pwedeng 2 wheels, pwedeng bicycle or any other vehicle. Basta ikutin mo lang yung Pilipinas, sir. It's a loop wherein you will pass through checkpoints. For example, there is ferry points. Yung mga ferry points, sir, yun yung mga tawid dagat na kailangan mong daanan. Tapos mga checkpoint, kunwari sa Alaminos, Pangasinan, you have to take pictures there. You have to take pictures in the highest point in Tinoc. You have to take pictures in Ilocos. It's just for verification that you already completed the Philippine Loop. But in bicycle, we don't usually register to what we call ATPI. It's under the Department of Tourism. In bicycle, we just make it for just like self-achievement. We are not doing it for anybody. We are doing this for our advocacy of promoting bicycles as the main mode of transportation with its benefit in our health and also for the environment. And the best thing of doing the Philippine Loop is that you can experience the culture, you can experience the place itself of just like the food in different provinces of the Philippines. It's the best part of looping the Philippines. And
okay, Vicson, I know you started the Philippine Loop journey June 1. Now, when you do the Philippine Loop, non-stop ba yan? You have to, the minute you start, on the day you start, you have to keep biking, pedaling, etc., traveling until you complete the loop? Or ano ba yan? Okay, punta muna tayong Baguio, picture, selfie, record, uwi muna, etc. May ano ba yan? May intervals or must be a continuous journey?
For me, sir, I started June 1. It's already non-stop. I started in Irosin, Sorsogon. It is the southernmost part of the Luzon. Then, as you can see on the map, I started, my day 1 will be from Irusin to Catanduanes and going northwards. And during the loop, hindi na ako umuwi, sir. Tapos, bale, wala naman siya rules. Yung sa akin lang din, nandun ka na din sa lugar, bakit hindi mo puntahan yung mga pwede mong puntahan na tourist spot? So, yun yung, kung iikutin mo yung Pilipinas, kaya siya mga 2 months mga 60 days, kaya mo ikutin nang walang stop. Ako nag-stop ako, sir, kunwari, dito magandang spot yung Baguio. I stayed sa Baguio 1 week. Tapos, may mga times pa na nasaktuhan ko may akyat ng bundok. So, sabi ko, andito na lang din naman ako. Akyat muna akong bundok. Yun yung mga side trip, sir. Pwede ka mag-side trip anywhere na madadaanan mo na gusto mong puntahan.
Okay, because you are 23 years old, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You're 23 years old, bata ka, single, walang sabit, walang except maybe yung nanay mo na magagalit sa'yo. But you're not only are you a biker, you're also a mountaineer or ano itong nabasa ko na parang meron ka pang 3 Everesting. Ano itong Everesting na ito?
Yung Everesting, sir, ano siya, worldwide challenge siya for cyclist and mga nagmamarathon. Bali, kailangan mong abutin yung height ng Everest by just hill reps. May pipili ka lang ng isang climb, then pabalik-balikan mo yun to complete a total of 8848 meters above sea level na elevation na same height ng Everest. Gamit yung bisikleta or gamit yung nakayapak lang tatakbo.
Okay, so you are a mountaineer, you are a biker, etc. But what got you to do this bike loop? Because not everybody who owns a mountain bike thinks about doing a Philippine Loop.
Yung sa akin naman, sir, it's more on personal achievement. Just like I already do a Sorsogon Loop, a provincial loop in our own province. Then I went to Bicol Loop sa buong region naman. Tapos umabot na akong Manila dahil sa pagbabike. Sabi ko, parang wala na akong mapupuntahan. Babalikan ko na naman yun if ever gugustuhin ko. So why not loop the Philippines? And isa po sa nag-inspire sa akin, may hinost kami dati dito na nag-loop din ng Pilipinas way back 2019, si Kuya Murky, na nakabike din. Kaya na-inspire ako to do the same thing, na mag-loop ng Pilipinas.
Okay, but anong klaseng what preparation was required to do this? Because ako ay nagbisikleta lang ako 5 kilometro, 2 araw masakit yung katawan ko.
Bale, yung preparation ko, sir, umabot siyang 1 year. Lalo na sa pag-iipon ng pera na kailangan, mga funds. Tapos, pag-plot ng ruta, saan ba yung safest route to go. Kasi may mga part ng Philippines na merong security issue. So, kailangan natin i-consider yun. Kaya, umabot siyang 1 year while habang nagpa-planning ako, nag-training na din ako kasi nagtitraining ako pero may mga laro pa akong linalaroan. Kaya tumaas yung physical fitness level. Kaya nakapag-train ng Philippine Loop. Pero kahit naman sakto lang yung physical ability mo, kaya mo ikutin yung Pilipinas eh. Kasi yung motto talaga ng pagbabike tour is far not fast. Malayo siya pero mabagal. Far
not fast.
Yes, sir. Far not fast. Bale, kahit mabagal, basta dumating sa destination, yun lang yung best part. Kasi kung masyado kang mabilis, hindi mo ma-appreciate yung views, yung mga tao dun sa lugar, hindi mo ma-experience yung lugar. So, yun yung pinaka-best part ng bike touring.
So, 1 year preparation, gradual by doing a city loop, a provincial loop, a regional loop, and then the Philippine Loop. So, hindi mo binigla. Very wise attitude in preparing for it. You needed money. How much money was required and what kind of equipment did you use? Kasi, I recently went to a bike shop kasi sabi ko, balikan ko nga yung pagbabike ko nung bata-bata ako. So, I better get a half-decent bike. Siningil ba naman ako 65,000, hindi na ako bumalik. Sabi ko, teka, nagkakaungguyan tayo dito. Ayoko na, di bali na lang. So, for you to do the Philippine Loop, what kind of a bike did you require and how much funding was needed?
Sir, my bike is a weapon bike. It is a mountain bike. Mas pinili ko yung mountain bike sa reason na may part ng Pilipinas na hindi pa siya paved roads. Mm-hmm. So, mas preferred ko yung gamitin sa mga malalayong biyahe, yung malalaki yung gulong. Kasi pag may mga lubak, hindi siya ganun ka-stress sa katawan eh. Mm-hmm. And yung bike ko, nandun na lahat. Bali, self-sustained bike packing yung ginawa ko. Yung lutuan, meron akong dalang lutuan. May dala na akong sleeping system. Yung mga damit ko, nandun na lahat. Bali, kompleto na siya. Parang nandun na yung buong bahay namin sa bike ko eh. Kaya, no worries na ako kung saan ako mapadpad kasi kompleto ng gamit. Ng mga tools, ng mga spare parts. Nandun na din po, sir. Yung bike ko, nasa worth 30,000 yung buong bike. And yung half ng bike is sponsored ng Weapon Bike Company na tiniwalaan ako na I can do the Philippine Loop. Kaya sobrang blessed na mag-start ng loop kasi ganun, maraming naniniwala. Tapos sa funding, yung sa planned na fund ko, na budget, 50K yung minimum ko. Dapat kailangan kong maka-raise ng 50,000 para maka-start ng loop. Para matapos ko yung loop, 50,000. Pero yung nagastos ko, sir, is only 18,000. Bakit 18,000? Kasi madaming mababait na Filipino along the way na nag-accommodate. Minsan, nagbibigay ng pera, nagbibigay ng pagkain. Plus points na dun yung pang-snacks. Madami, sir, kasi pati mga truck drivers, isipin mo na lang, truck drivers, nagbibigay sila 100 pesos, 50, 20 pang-snacks. And yun yung isa sa hanggang ngayon goosebumps pa rin na ang daming Pilipino na babait at talagang hospitable sa kanilang mga lugar.
Pero paano nila, how did they even know, or kasi parang hindi ka naman siguro nang lilimos o Oo, ano ba yun, basking. Hindi ka naman siguro tumutugtog sa isang kanto na support the Philippine Loop ride. Kasi, I mean, how did they even know na this young guy is doing this, which encouraged them to give you money? Anong ginagawa mo para maganahan silang tumulong sa'yo?
Yung sa tingin ko, sir, napansin nila na yung bike ko, kakaibang bike, ang daming dala. Just like a bike of a traveler na sobrang loaded. And yung may signage ako sa likod, Philippine Loop from Irusin, Sorsogon, tapos may Philippine flag sa likod to symbolize na I'm a civilian. Bale, yun yung naka-inspire sa kanila to just donate something or just to help me some funds. Minsan hindi ako after sa pera, sir. Alam mo yung kahit kausapin ka man lang, it's a different kind of kindness from other people na wala ka sa bahay nyo, malayo sa bahay nyo, pero may mga tropa, may mga kaibigan kang nabubuo during the loop.
Okay, now what about kasi you prepared, so you had 50, you budgeted 50,000, you only spent 18,000 more or less kasi many Filipinos were kind-hearted. Actually, that's what we're known for. May mga foreigners kang nagblog dito sa Pilipinas na just testing the hospitality of Filipinos, and they left very impressed na sabi, dito hindi masyadong suspicioso yung Pilipino sa foreigner, they accommodate, and it's nice to know that they do the same thing for Filipinos. But what about being on the road? Mag-isa ka all the way? Kasi parang nakikita ko dun sa mga video mo, selfie stick ang pinagmumula ng camera. But I've known people who have done similar undertakings, but they need a support group kasi kung mag-collapse ka, magkasakit ka, etc., paano na yun?
Bali, yung ride ko talaga is self-supported, sir. Tapos, yung main
wala
thing...
kang team, wala kang backup, wala kang team, wala kang body?
Wala, sir. Bali, self-supported talaga siya all the way. Though may mga part ng route na may nakikilala, gusto makisabay from point A to point B, may mga ganong instance, sir. Tapos, sa cycling community kasi may culture kami na pag may nakita kaming traveler o isang cyclist din, i-accommodate namin siya and will offer a courtesy ride. Kasabayan namin siya from our place to parang ihatid namin siya sa next na destination niya. Yun yung isang part din ng cycling. Tapos, with regards naman sa health conditions, yung perspective ko po doon is laging listen to your body. Hindi naman to race, kaya okay lang magpahinga pag napapagod or may masama ka nararamdaman, pwede kang magpahinga. Actually, may mga times na I rested for 2 to 3 days para lang makarecover muna before continuing my loop again. So, hindi naman siya race, kaya okay lang mabagal.
What was the hardest stretch or the toughest points of the Philippine Loop? Kasi ako, pagdating ng Matarik, baba na, lakad na tayo mga bata kasi masakit sa balakang yan. What was the toughest of the Philippine Loop?
For me, sir, the toughest part is the Cordilleras. It's the mountain province because from La Union going to Baguio, it's a 42 kilometers uphill using the Marcos Highway because nag-try akong umakyat ng Cannon Road but they didn't allow me to do so kasi bawal daw yung bisikleta sa Cannon. So, kailangan kong mag-revert ng route. Doon ako dumaan sa Marcos Highway. All the way up sa Baguio. Medyo challenging siya kasi uphill. Tapos mainit pa yung time na umakyat ako. Then, the next one is from Baguio to the new highest point. It's in Tinok, Ifugao. Isa din yun kasi matatarik na uphills. Tapos, pero yung weather kasi sa higher altitude maganda eh. Mas mabilis ka makarecover kasi cold weather condition eh. Yung magiging problema mo lang talaga kasi yung matarik. And yung isa pa, nasa Bulalakaw, Mindoro. Nasa Mindoro siya. Isang parang pader na yung inaakyat mo, sir. Hindi mo siya, kung loaded yung bike mo, mabigat yung bike, hindi siya maakyat. Kaya yun din, tough. Kasi yung toughest talaga yung Baguio.
So hindi pa jack tulak?
Yung sa Mindoro lang,
Bulalakaw.
sir. Yung sa Baguio naman, nagbike ako, pero sobrang bagal lang. Parang naglalakad na lang yung bike.
Okay. Now, was there ever a point na sabi mo, ano ba ginagawa ko dito? Was there ever a point na there was doubt, apprehension na uwi na lang ako? Wala namang katuturan to.
For me, wala, sir. Kasi ako naman, pag plinano ko, alam mo yun, na-excite ako habang ginagawa ko yung plano ko. Yung mga pangarap mo, iba yung feeling pag nandun ka na, living the dream of your life. Sobrang goosebump siya. Pero may times na mapapagod ka, pero it will not come to the point na you will think of quitting. Resting pwede, pero quitting never.
Okay, now, ano na pala mo? I'm sorry, because I know the feeling. I've been there. I was crazy when I was your age, but people are probably going to say, why do that? You could have just been at home doing selfie and doing face stuff, whatever. Anong napala mo? Meron ka bang, do you even have a love story to share or, an unforgettable experience? Because, I mean, when you do nearly 4 months on the road, on the bike, by yourself, I would already ask you, do you have a book? Do you have enough material for a book, etc.? Or were you uploading content every day for your YouTube channel, etc.? I mean, what came out of that journey, Vicson?
Yeah, sir. For Philippine Loop, bale yung napala ko talaga. Daming nagtatanong din, sir, kahit sa kalsada, ano napapala mo? Napapagod ka lang dyan. Sa akin hindi eh. Kasi personal goal eh. Pang sariling achievement yung kinukuha ko, hindi para sa ibang tao.
Mm-hmm.
Just like sa vlogs, may tinatarget kang audience, may tinatarget ka na mga tao na kailangan ma-update ko sila, kailangan makagawa kong video, makagawa kong content na ganito, ganyan.
Yeah.
Akin hindi eh, more on sa personal eh. Pero right now, I'm writing a book about sa journey na to kasi gusto ko na maging on-tech siya, may concrete text ako na pwede ko ipakita sa future generation and maybe someone or somewhere kung kailan man, magamit yon bilang guide ng gusto din makapag-ikot ng Pilipinas or maybe not Philippines, why not yung buong mundo ikutin natin gamit yung bisikleta.
Well, it has
been possible naman eh.
Oo, kasi ginawa na yun sa Netflix eh. May nakita na akong mga documentary sa Netflix, 2 guys, best buddy around the world. And then biglang in the middle of the trip, hindi na sila best buddy, kanya-kanya na sila, hiwalay na. So anyway, let's go for a break, Vicson. And when we return, pag-usapan pa natin yung detalye ng biyahe mo and tips that you can give for ordinary people like us. Because I mean, like me, I want to get back on the bike again. But there are many of us na, siyempre, pasensya na kayo, no? Nakakashock na yung mga presyo ng mga bike ngayon. And then, mabuti ka pa, marunong ka pa sigurong magaling kang mag-shift gears. Ako, pag nag-shift gear ako, nadidiskaril yung, yung kadena eh. Okay, so we'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we are speaking with Vicson Añonuevo of Irosin, Sorsogon, and he is the youngest youngest Filipino to complete the Philippine Loop on a bicycle, which is essentially going around, literally around the Philippines, starting from Irosin, going up north to Baguio, Cordillera, back down to Visayas. Umabot ka ng Mindanao, of course.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you, did you do comparison between biking in Luzon, biking in Visayas, biking in Mindanao? Which island is a better place for bikers, safer, etc.?
For me, the safer route for cyclists usually is nasa city, sir. Kasi we have law about the bike lanes. If you have heard of the bike lanes, the protected bike lanes is the one we are pursuing through right now, especially on Bike Scouts. We are trying to have projects that will protect the cyclist kasi may mga part ng kalsada na hindi talaga siya safe for cyclists or for other two-wheel vehicle. For example, there are still highways that have two lanes, mga two lanes lang yung kalsada. Tapos yung mga dumadaan na vehicles doon, mga trailer trucks, malalaking bus, malalaking ibang vehicles. And sobrang unsafe siya for cyclists like us. Kaya yung pinaka-safe na route talaga, kung more on recreational ka lang naman, hindi ka na traveler na malalayo, mas pinaka-safe pa rin yung mga city propers kasi may protected bike lanes na minsan elevated pa sa kalsada. Kaya mas safe sa mga cities. And when regards sa cycling in different parts ng Pilipinas, almost lahat naman safe except sa mga parts na meron talagang security issues. Siyempre, alam natin may mga anti-government tayo na part. So, yun lang yung unsafe na puntahan. Pero prior sa pagpupunta sa isang lugar, kailangan may background ka muna. Background check muna. O ano yung dadaanan mo dito, anong culture meron sila, may unsafe ba, bawal bang magbiyahe ng gabi. And yun lang yung isa sa naging kiko para maikot yung Pilipinas, yung magkaroon ng background sa bawat lugar. And may mga parts na kailangan mo i-correct kasi like Mindanao, dati yung perspective natin, pag Taga-Luzon tayo, Mindanao is a war zone, maingay na lugar, madaming patayan, maraming bombahan. It's just like to correct it nung nakapunta na ako kasi hindi siya ganun. Hindi ganun yung Mindanao. Mindanao is also a safe place for everyone, for Christians and for both Muslims. And sobrang mabait ng mga tao sa Mindanao. Yun lang yung isa sa masasabi ko na testimony. Huwag kayong matakot if ever mapapadpad kayong Mindanao, huwag kayong matatakot. May certain part lang talaga ng Mindanao na di ka pwede mag-travel ng gabi. Kasi may times na paggabi, nagbabiyahe pa rin ako eh. May times din na hindi na pwede. Buong Mindanao, hindi na ako nagbiyahe ng gabi kasi yun nga, may security issue. Pero during daytime, safe siya. Yung sabi lang sana local dun, once daw na all Muslim yung area, pag puro Muslim yung area, medyo critical part siya. So, hindi siya advisable to travel by night. And naligaw pa nga ako sa Mindanao eh. If you know the Mama Sapano, the area wherein namatay yung sa 44, doon ako nakadaan. Kasi pagtingin ko sa map ko, yun yung shortest way to go to Coronadal. So naligaw ako doon. And yung tinanong ko yung local ng Coronadal, sabi ko, sir, is this a safe route? Sabi niya, yes. Kasi pala, sinabi na lang niya yes kasi nandun na ako. Para hindi daw ako matakot and wala akong kabe. And totoo yun, wala akong kaba na dumaan doon. Kasi hindi ko naman alam na until now, ganun pa pala yung area doon. Medyo critical part. Alam mo yung may checkpoint in every, just like 5 kilometers. Pero ibang checkpoint.
May mga kawayan. May kawayan na nakababang ganon. Hindi mo alam kung NPA, MNLF, MILF.
Totoo. And ganda experience ko kasi bihira lang daw nakakadaan doon. And yung ginawa ko lang pag nadaan checkpoint, just great. Tapos onting usap tapos alis naman. Hindi siya yung parang natatakot ka. Hindi mo kailangan ipakita na takot ka kasi wala ka namang ginagawa. Yung maging problema mo lang talaga kung mapaghinalaan ka na you are intel or government force ka. Kaya hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa napuputol yung nagamit ko sa Mindanao to camouflage.
Okay. That explains it because when you opened your camera, bigla sabi ko, ano to? Medyo kasi yung outfit mo para kang well, I mean there's nothing wrong with it. It was just unexpected kasi ang pag pinag-uusapan biking, biglang may dumating na mukhang tiga South. So sabi, I was kind of thrown off. So you use that to kind of assimilate with the population.
It's a disguise.
Ayun, okay.
Parang local ka lang doon. Tapos duman ako naka-sleepers lang. Tapos parang natural na clothes. Hindi ako nag-cycling or nag-jersey sa part na yun para masyado, para hindi halata siya. And gumana naman so far. Pero yung advice ko lang, if ever may mapapadaan doon, wag na kayong dumaan. Kasi may part na parang 2 kilometers na baha. Tapos walang mga tulay doon sa daan na yun. And almost puro pa ruins yung kalsada, malubak siya and off-road kasi hindi na daw na aayos yung lugar na yun kasi hindi kaya pasukin ng mga construction kasi yun nga, daming security issue. Minsan pinapasabog daw yung mga trucks. Kaya wag na kayo duman doon. Much better sa highway
okay.
Talaga.
Well, anyway, we've had an enjoyable time with you, Vicson, and medyo interesting yung biyahe mo. I hope that you actually are able to write the book or maybe do a video documentary or paste mo, di ba? Cut and paste yung mga video mo because that's an accomplishment and I congratulate you for having the courage, the sense of adventure, and the wisdom of traveling the Philippines first more than any other place. Thank you, Vicson.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, that's Vicson Añonuevo, the youngest cyclist to complete the Philippine Loop. And for those of you who want to get into that, review or watch the program, the episode again, because it is full of wisdom regarding planning. Go far, not fast. We'll go for a break and we'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, after that interesting and entertaining conversation with Vicson Añonuevo, let's now go to a somewhat serious subject matter or a matter of concern for Philippine tourism, and this is related to the what is reportedly a misinformation, but a serious point of concern, which is the possible blacklisting of the Philippines among Chinese tourists, or with the Chinese government blacklisting the Philippines, preventing its tourists from coming to the country if we continue to host pogos in the country. Let's introduce our guest, who is an official of the country's largest travel groups. Let's watch the video.
Fe Abling Yu is the general manager of Arfel Travel and Tours. She currently serves as president of the Philippine Tour Operators Association.
Okay, Fe, good morning. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Sir Cito. Good morning, Sir Cito. Good morning, and thank you again for giving us the chance to be heard.
Well, first up, congratulations for what I heard was a very successful travel mart. Sorry, hindi ako nakapunta. Medyo I was tied up with activities, but congratulations. Now, the reason we've asked you to join us this morning is to get the reaction of the tour operators or members of the Philippine Tour Operators Association, or PhilToA, on the possibility of the Philippines being blacklisted by China if we persist in hosting pogos in the country.
Well, yesterday, I had a conversation with a hotelier and a tour operator who is really handling Chinese market. And of course, from them, because we have been anticipating a huge comeback of the Chinese tourists into the country after the almost 3 years of, we don't have that because of the pandemic. So parang we are preparing for their comeback to our shores. But then, because of that, medyo syempre nalungkot sila. Kasi syempre, lalo na yung isa kong kasama na ang talagang hinahandle niya, Chinese market lang. So kung mawawala yung Chinese market na yon, nasaan siya? Hindi naman siya sanay mag-handle ng ibang market, kundi because she is a Chinese-speaking tour operator. So, yun ding mga hotels, may kausap din ako mga hoteliers kahapon, na yun nga, tayo, ang dami natin mga investors, not only in Metro Manila, but in in Boracay, Cebu, and other parts of the country, na talaga nagpatayo tayo ng mga malalaking hotels, resorts to accommodate all tourists, not only the Chinese, but all tourists coming into our country. So kung magkakaroon ng ganong sitwasyon, warning pa lang naman siguro yon. So malaking impact yon sa ating turismo, knowing that in 2019, we received almost 2 million tourist arrivals from China lang. So that's yung 2 million na yan, i-translate mo yan into receipts, napakalaki din po nun. Kung sakaling ang ginagastos lang ng isang turista, Chinese tourist into the country is about $1,000, inclusive of airfare, accommodation, tours, meals, and everything, malaki din naman po ang naiitulong nun sa ating ekonomiya, sir.
Okay, now, what about the point na may paglalagyan ba daw yung mga Filipino Pogo employees? Because someone had suggested they can be absorbed by tour operators, hotels, etc. And unfortunately, pag pinapanood ko naman itong mga foreign tour groups when they come to the Philippines, yung kanilang team leader o yung parang nag-escort sa kanila is also either Korean or Chinese. So, can you honestly say, Fed, that when the Chinese come in, we are really benefiting? Hindi yung parang dumating nga sila, nakigamit lang ng facility kasi yung may-ari ng hotel Chinese, yung restaurant na pinupuntahan Chinese, yung mga sasakyan Chinese, etc.
Well, in terms of Chinese market, sir, Kaya ito po, gumagamit din naman po ito ng mga hotels na pag-aari ng mga lokal.
Okay.
Yung mga transportation, bus transportation din naman po ang kinakamit nila. Ang tingin ko lang, sir, na may shortage tayo right now, kaya napapansin ninyo, are the tourist guide. Kasi hindi ho ganun karami ang ating tourist guide that speaks Mandarin, which is the mother tongue of China.
Yes.
So, yun lang po siguro lang yung may pagkukulang tayo. But the rest, the restaurant, kasi we have one of the best Chinese cuisine in the country. So, na-augment yun, sir. Kaya nag-i-enjoy din po yung mga tourist na yan at nasasagot po ng mga restaurants natin kung ano man po yung pangangailangan nila in terms of food. So, hindi naman po, sir. Napapakinabangan din naman po talaga natin yung mga, hindi po sila yung Chinese are for Chinese. Hindi naman po. Hindi po yon. So, parang they use local tour operators na nag-i-employ ng mga local talent po pagdating sa operations. So as long lang, sir, nasa isang company na yon, there is a Chinese speaking, kahit isa lang po, that can communicate back there in China.
Okay.
Pero the rest po are being used naman. Filipino talents po yan.
What is PhilToa or your related or the related groups in Philippine tourism planning to do? Because the situation is now one where you have a group supposedly representing Filipino workers who want the continuation of POGO. You have senators, majority don't want POGO, but there are politicians, especially in Congress, pushing for POGO. So, pero we haven't heard, of course, there was no opportunity or need, but now the need arises for the tourism sector to assert yourselves and your interests. Are you going to come up with a statement? Are you going to come up with position papers? Or will you ask to speak before the Senate regarding this threat of blacklist and the potential loss of 2 million plus Chinese tourists in 2023?
Sir, we have a representative sa aming sektor sa turismo, which is the Tourism Congress of the Philippines.
Okay.
So, siya po yung, I think what we will do if talagang dumating po tayo doon sa point na yon, sa situation na yon, siguro the President of the Tourism Congress of the Philippines, no less than Mr. Jojo Clemente, will call on us and gather all our inputs, our ideas about the situation. And if really there's a need for us, for the tourism sector to be called in the Senate to contribute as to the decision kung tatanggalin ba ang POGO, which is yun ang panawagan ng China sa ating bansa na POGO is illegal. It is illegal initially from their country, which is pag-uusapan yung mabuti ko yung advantages and disadvantages of having POGO in the Philippines vis-a-vis with tourism. So siguro po pupunta doon, magre-represent si Jojo Clemente sa Congress kung kinakailangan po at i-weigh mabuti kung ano po talaga yung impact nun sa aming mundong ginagalaw, which is turismo. Kasi kahit sa naman, sabi ko nga po, ang isa o dalawang turista na inayos po natin, nagkakaskade din naman po yan, sir, sa employment. At naramdaman po natin yon nung nawala po ang tourist dito sa country natin. Na talagang yung mga frontliners natin nawala ng trabaho, masahista, lahat po yon, lahat po ng tourism-related workers, nawalan po yun ng trabaho. So kung iaalisin po ang Chinese tourists into the country, which is about 2 million, ang laki din naman po, sir, ng mawawalan ng trabaho.
Okay, what about absorbing the Mandarin-speaking Filipino POGO workers? Kasi may tinanong nga ng Senate yung PAGCOR, can they implement? And they said all they need is a order from the president. But the other question is, what about the displaced Mandarin-speaking Filipinos? Sayang naman. May paglalagyan ba sila? Is there a place for them in the among your members, tour operators group? You were saying that there's not enough tourist guides, Mandarin-speaking tourist guides. How many Mandarin speakers does the industry need to handle 2 million tourists?
Actually, sir, yung paglalagyan ng mga Mandarin-speaking tourist guides, mapag-uusapan po yun between the two sectors, the tourism and ito pong PAGCOR. We can come up with a plan and absorb this because kailangan natin yun po Kung how many, kung ilan po sila, pwede po mapakinabangan, kung magiging regular na po, sir, yung pagbalik ng mga Chinese tourists into the country, which matagal na nga po namin hinihintay, mapapakinabangan po yun, sir. Kung talaga pong, kung if there is still a need for training, to train them better for the tourism. Kasi iba naman po ang training ng POGO, iba naman din po ang training sa tourism. If we can, of course, our Department of Tourism, we from the tourism from tour operators and other from PAGCOR, baka po we can come up with a very good solution just in case the scenario will happen.
So the DOT, PAGCOR, and PhilToa can come together and put up a transition program for all of those displaced Mandarin-speaking employees coming from the POGO sector.
Yes, sir. Kasi para maiwasan na rin, sir, yung pagdadala ng mga Chinese tour operators into the country of their own tourist guide. Kasi pag lumipad sila dito, sir, may dala-dala nga silang sarili nilang tourist guide na maiintindihan po ng mga turista. So, instead na sila magdala from their country, from China, dito na lang po natin kunin kung meron naman po nun tayong sapat dito sa ating bansa.
Ayun, very good point, Fe. Thank you very much for your inputs this morning. And just a word of caution, wag na kayong maghintay, tawagin sa Senado, magpresenta na kayo at baka matabunan kayo ng mga lumalaban para sa POGO. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Fe. And congratulations again and more power to you.
Maraming salamat, Sir Cito. And andito lang po ang PhilToa, just in case you need us.
Okay. That's Fe Abling Yu, President, Philippine Tour Operators Association, or PhilToa. That's a very good point. Let's now close our program for today with the week's blessing from the book of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 17. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands upon us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Thank you very much. I'm Cito Beltran thanking you. Please keep it here on One News.